Well, welcome back once again. I'm Dave here at the Wagon Shop in Joliet, Montana. We're continuing on in the top foundation work on this two-seat buggy. We appreciate you following along. Before we get into it, I want to mention another YouTube channel. This is with a man that I met back in 2019 in Death Valley. His name is Mark Bedore. Mark Bedore puts out a video series on Today's Wild West, and his YouTube channel is called Today's Wild West. Now, Mark doesn't know that I am bringing up his name today, so if you go check him out, you might tell him hi from Ingalls Coach. I met Mark when we had the 20 Mule Team Borax wagons in Death Valley back in 2019, November of that year, at some commemorative parades that were put on in memoriam of Death Valley becoming a national park. Well, Mark interviewed a number of us on the crew, and that's where I began to meet and know Mark Bedore a little better. Well, he really puts out an interesting channel focused on the Wild West as it is still alive today. You know, it kind of relates to this channel because that's what I do. It's old transportation, wagons, buggies, coaches from the Old West. So you might be interested. Check him out. Today's Wild West, put out by Mark Bedore. Anyway, today we need to get into the foundation work of a two-seat extension top buggy. Now, since this front seat was missing, the ironwork is missing also, so I need to produce something that will take the front two sockets for this top. So that's what we're going to start on today, is creating the ironwork for the front seat that will accommodate this buggy top. Now, as I was kind of conjuring in my mind just kind of what style this would be, I had some pretty elaborate thoughts. Well, maybe I should make it oval to match the shifting rail. But generally, you know, when I do a little iron work, the iron kind of tells me what it needs to be, if that makes any kind of sense. Well, as I got to doing this and drawing out the taper, you know, I began to realize that, you know, this is a simple buggy. I need to do the KISS method. K-I-S-S, keep it simple, stupid. So that's what I decided to do. Was when I drew this out, it just looked, you know, this is good enough. This fits the character of this buggy. So that's where I'm going to leave this top iron for the front seat. Well, now normally this is when I would stop putting the wood top bows into the sockets. But I got to looking at these, and the sockets were really not, they weren't straight up and down, they weren't parallel with each other. The left side was a little angled out, so I needed to do some adjustment on the shifting rail, first of all, to get these sockets where they stand straight. Then as I got to looking a little closer when I was putting the front socket iron on the front seat, the right side was a little different measurement from the rear socket to the front socket. But I had the iron the same location on the seat arm, so I had to look a little closer, and there was something amiss on the back shifting rails. The right side shifting rail was not bent exactly the same as the left side was, so I got to do some adjusting just for my head's sake. I could build a top the way it was, that's definitely doable, but it would have bothered me. So kind of an example of how my head works, when Diane and I were getting to know each other, I was in college and I was putting some laundry away, hanging shirts up in the closet. And Diane, she just started putting shirts on the hanger and hanging them up. And I had to stop and go, whoa, that's not how I do it. All my shirts need to be on the hanger, the same direction, all the buttons facing to the right. It's just how I work. For my mental stability, I guess, or instability, whatever it is. So that's kind of how this top is. It would function just the way it is, just like the shirts would be fine if they were some to the right, some to the left. It's not a big deal, but it's how I am wired. I like to have things straight and in order in a particular fashion. So this right side shifting rail being off would bother my head. So I'm going to fix it so it doesn't bother my head. So now we have a foundation that I'm satisfied with. Everything is square and going to be uniform, and that is good for me. So anyway, appreciate you putting up with my little idiosyncrasies. Thanks for following along, and thanks for watching.